Attention SMP artists, are you looking to take your business to the next level? It's time to fully systemize your studio for growth with the ultimate sales and marketing platform for SMP artists, HighLead. With HighLead, you get everything that you need to save time and effortlessly generate more consultations and bookings on autopilot. And guess what? HighLead is not just a system, but also one of the largest Google ad agencies in the world for SMP professionals. Imagine having a marketing strategy that's tailor-made for the SMP industry, driving high-quality leads right to your studio. Say goodbye to the struggle of finding the latest marketing trend. HighLead has you covered. Invested into your training? Check. Invested into your equipment and studio setup? Check. Now it's time to invest into your marketing strategy. Don't risk your marketing budget on anything else until you've experienced HighLead's growth system and Google Ads services. Don't pass on this special opportunity for listeners of the Scalp Solutions Podcast. Visit GoHighLead.com today to book a free demo now and join the hundreds of SMP artists who've embraced HighLead to thrive in their businesses. On the free no-obligation demo call, a member of HighLead's team will answer all of your questions and help you unlock the potential of your SMP studio by getting you more bookings. Visit GoHighLead.com today.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Scalp Solutions Podcast. I'm your host, David Santiago, and today we have a special guest, Kat, who transitioned from being a tattoo artist to becoming an incredibly dope certified SMP artist. After receiving his certification through Leaders and apprenticing for Picasso, Jeff, Kat joined the flagship location in Hollywood, where he excelled as a pro artist and store manager for 4 years. Kat's attention to detail, patience, professionalism, and love for people set him apart in the SMP industry. And as a recipient of SMP himself, he finds joy in giving others the confidence this life-changing procedure has given him. He's also a trainee. He's also a trainer, not a trainee, all right? This guy's a trainer for the Savato Academy out of Europe. So let's welcome Kat to the podcast.
Yo, D, thank you so much, man, for having me. I'm super pumped. I'm really honored to be on your podcast, man. I think you're doing great things in the industry. And yeah, it's a great honor for me to be here today.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. But before we get into the questioning, Kat, I want to personally tell you that I personally believe that you're one of those SMP artists in the industry that deserves way more recognition than what it is that you're getting now. And I don't know if that's a personal decision, because I know some artists enjoy being silent killers, but brother, I feel like your name should be thrown out there more often when they talk about, like, yo, who are some really dope SMP artists? Absolutely. Mean it.
Wow. I'm super humbled. And like I said, I'm honored. Anytime, anytime other peers, other great artists, mention things like that, it definitely humbles me. Because I'm out here just trying to do my best, man, trying to take care of my clients and my students and put out the best quality work and training that I could possibly do. And I think that those that, encounter my work and my trainings, they get that sense and they feel that, because they feel that I'm not a fake person. They know that everything I do comes from my heart. ask any client, they end up being like BFFs. We're texting, or
Oh,
students, or even my students. You know, I have students that I trained 3 years ago that they're still asking me questions, DMing, sending me photos. I don't leave people in the dust, even though I'm with another academy now. I'm still helping people out. And I think that really it's just a reflection of like, if you care about people, it's going to come out, man. You
yeah.
know, and so I think that that's something that's missing in not just our industry, but in all industries, is just that personal touch of like, hey, I want to connect with the person that's doing this service for me or teaching me, this training. I want to connect on more than a business connection, business level. And I think that that's what Inkheads, my brand, my company wants to bring, to the world. I think that's what really sets me apart. And I see that same in you as well. You're super personable. You care about people. You care about your clients, and that's what makes services stand out. It's really because there's a personal connection. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's an incredibly important asset
Yeah.
uh, to have. I don't want to get too crazy with patting us on the back because we're incredibly charismatic and sexy guys. I don't want the
Hey.
podcast start shifting. They'd be like, these guys. uh, This was set up to be an interview where these guys are just complimenting each other out of
Right.
asset. But I will give you another. This is funny though, right? As I'm looking for information on you and doing like further background research, I'm like, you know what? Let me go into his website. Soon as I click on your website, I go, this motherfucker. Because the first thing that pops up is a crispy, natural hairline. It's just like bow. And I'm like, all right, just if you don't know, this is how a natural hairline is supposed to look. So I actually laughed because I was like, damn, this motherfucker got it right in your face. Like, yo, this is what I'm capable of. And I
Yeah.
appreciate that. With that being said, though, Kat, can you tell us about your journey into the SMP industry and what inspired you to start?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, man, I think I started thinning when I was 21 years old. I'm 44 now, right? And so I remember those early days of just seeing hair at the bottom of the shower and my just spirit dropping down, going down the drain along with the hairs, bro, and just feeling like, man, just as a young dude who loved his hair. I love to express myself. I've always been an artist in the way that I've dressed, in the way that I've done my hair. All through high school, I had dreads, I had braids, I shaved my head, or I like cornrows, or like colored my hair every color you could think of. So I was expressing myself through my hair. And when my hair started to fall out, it was like a piece of me died or was dying. And but by the grace of God, that thinning took some people. It's like the first time they see their hair fall out, it's like 6 months later they're completely bald. For me, it took like 13 years. I think it was a long time. Where I
Blow.
think by the time I was maybe 33, 34, is when it was so thin that I was like, I'm not doing the comb over. I got to shave. So it was at that point that after I started shaving my head bald, that a little bit later I started seeing SMP pop up on my Instagram. And so I was interested in looking into it. And when I first looked into it, I talked to my wife about it, and then we weren't sure if we wanted to drop the dough at that time. But what happened was my wife found, about a year and a half after I found SMP, she actually saw an ad for Jeff actually teaching a class. And she's like, babe, that thing you wanted to get done, you could actually get certified in it. And I was like, wait, what? Like, she's like, it's just like tattooing. And I'm like, yeah. And so it just, in my brain, I was like, this is it. And at the time, bro, I was working in an engineering company. I was working at a company that wrote maintenance manuals for in-flight entertainment systems. And I, at the time, had been at the company for about 6 years. I ended up staying there for 7.5 years, but they gave me the title engineering analyst, because I had worked my way up from like a dude who came in the bottom knowing nothing with no engineering degree to someone who was able to do some of the top level things there just by learning from other engineers, other brilliant people around me. And so I was doing that at the time, but it wasn't fulfilling this need of creativity, one, and two, like connecting with people. I was sitting behind 3 computer screens all day long,
In a
staring at
cubicle?
like, what's that?
In a cubicle?
No, well, pretty much, but like, but I was staring at like freaking Boeing and Airbus engineering drawings of aircraft, and that's super cool, except that it wasn't touching this like this deep part of who I am. We're all I'm a man of faith, and I believe we're all created to do something, right? And when your heart begins to come alive, that's an indicator of like, hey, I'm doing the thing I was created to do.
Calling.
Right. And so, as dope as it was to like learn all that stuff, there's this insatiable part inside of me that was sitting dormant for all these years. And finally I was like, man, so I took the class, bro, as I was still in this company, and was doing and practicing SMP on the side, and was basically doing freebies and mail-ins. Bro, I got so damn sick of mail-ins. But that is what just started to level up my game. I noticed immediately. I was like, oh man, I'm getting good at this. And not only did I notice, but Jeff noticed, because then he hit me up and was like, hey bro, like I'm looking at the stuff you're posting on Instagram, and what do you think about coming and working with me? I was like, what in the lottery ticket that I just hit right now? Like, you know what I mean? And so it was a perfect transition of moving out of that engineering job into SMP. And here I am on your podcast.
That's crazy. It's incredible, and we somewhat have the same upbringing because I too was looking for SMP, and I found Jeff, and then
Yeah.
in finding Jeff, me also as a barber, I'm like, oh shit, he also does the training. So I'm like,
Yeah.
be a perfect service
Yeah.
to offer, and I was already doing the wigs, and I got my SMP originally, like my first session or first 2 sessions by Jeff, and then Juan finished it. But then I got trained on
Gotcha.
rentals with Jeff. So how was it going from an engineering gig? You also have some background in traditional tattooing to SMP. What was that transition like, bro? Was it just like, like you said, you kind of felt like this was my calling, but was it still an easy transition, or was there some hurdles to that you had to overcome?
Yeah, no, I think in terms of the craft itself, it was a smooth transition, even though I hadn't been practicing, because I tattooed before I went into engineering. So I did that. I was tattooing for like 5 years before I went into engineering. And so by the time I was in engineering, I wasn't tattooing anymore, but I still would sketch and draw here and there on pads and on my iPad and whatnot. And so, and the when I picked up the machine and I touched the skin, the 3 point stretch from tattooing, that we use that in SMP, but it's from tattooing, right? The smell of green soap, the mixing of the pigment, the needle configuration. I already knew what 3RL was by the time I came in, because I used 3RL all the time tattooing. Understood those little intricate details of the trade that kind of bleed over and overlap into SMP. It made it very seamless for me. So when I picked up the machine and I started on my model during my class, making those first dots, I'm like, I'm home, bro. This feels like like what. Meanwhile, the other students are like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's like, did you just have a cappuccino before this, bro? Like your head needs to stop shaking. For me, it just felt like this is just another Tuesday, man. Like I've been doing this forever, and it feels home. So I felt like I had an advantage. You know what I mean? I felt like I had a definite advantage. And that would, if you're a tattoo artist watching right now and you're thinking about, doing training, that I would encourage you, do it. I've trained a gang of tattoo artists. Mostly it's like barbers, mostly it's barbers and PMU artists, but definitely a lot of tattoo artists. And they typically have some of the best dots because they're not new. They're not new to any of it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and then they also, I mean, you got some, and they're already, because even me, I've been starting to get a lot of calls from tattoo artists
You're right.
want to take the training because a lot of them are kind of like now that they're paying attention and they also know what's the the money involved with it. They're like, bro, like I specialize in dot work.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna
Right.
come in this game, I'm gonna kill it. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
like I could understand like that transition. I mean, for us for me to learn that technique when I'm just used to shaving,
Right.
I was the one shaking like, yo, I thought I never was gonna get the technique. I honestly felt I was like, there's no way I'm gonna get this. Like
Yeah.
I'm good, but I didn't think I was gonna pick it up. But what do you think sets your SMP apart from others in the industry?
Well, two things. I think the first thing is, you said it yourself. You hopped on my website and you scrolled up and you saw it says creating the world's most natural hairlines. I took the time. I took the time to learn what it means to create a natural hairline. And in this industry, people throw away the word, throw around the word natural so much. When I'm talking to a client on the phone, they're like, "Oh, I want it to look natural," and I have to redefine for them. I have to say, "You mean you want it to look realistic?" So whether I'm doing a hard hairline or a quote natural, soft, blurry hairline, you want it to look realistic. No matter what hairline I do, it's going to look realistic. But for me, what I specialize is co-creating with my client a natural hairline that fits their face. I don't, in my trainings, I don't just teach one hairline. I teach three, but personally, I do at least five different ones. When a client comes and sits down, I can do one of five um, different hairlines. And I think that the number one, the first part to answering your question is I've taken the time to actually master the craft. And when I say master, I don't mean that I know everything there is to know, but what to me, what mastery means is that I have a confident level of skills that I can replicate and I don't get scared no matter who sits in front of me. That's number one, what sets me apart. Number two is what we talked about a little bit earlier is my ability to connect with my client. Like they come in and they sit down, I talk to them, I find out like what's their lifestyle, what are the things they're interested in. But I'm all at the same time, I'm looking at the shape of their head, I'm looking at their face, and I want to make sure like, hey, are you a 70-year-old white guy? I'm not going to slap a barber's edge up on you. It's going to look stupid, right? So I'm going to talk about what is age appropriateness look like. Do you want a little bit of recession? Because I do two different hairlines that are natural receded, where it gives rounder corners. You got that a little bit of that Jack Nicholson going on, but you still look like you have a full head of hair. Or
Reference.
or are you a 25-year-old Puerto Rican and you do want that crispy? Okay, we can do that as well. But I'm also communicating to that young cat like, hey, you can't look at this as a hairstyle. You're not getting like a haircut. This is for this is forever, right? Like, and communicating not the finality, but just the fact that it's going to be there for a while, and how is it going to feel when you have this when you're 72, right? You don't want to look like your grandpa trying to kick it at the freaking club, right?
Listen,
So
if you're in New York, brother, that 70-year-old, he's gonna tell you, "Cat, that sounds good. I need
it
that
sounds good.
barber. Yeah, I need that barber."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
Yo, and that's cool too. But it's my job as a professional to have the skills to be able to give you what you want and to have the ability to articulate your options, and then to be able to connect with you on a personal level to where you feel 100% sure that you sat down in the right seat. Because I tell all my clients, my potential clients, like, hey, I'm not trying to get your deposit, bro. If you ain't feeling it, there are
yeah,
thousands of SMP artists out there
somebody
that
else.
take you right now. I'm not trying to take your money, because the last thing that I want is for you to be unhappy with something that I did, and then you're blowing up my Google reviews. I have all 5-star reviews for a reason. There's a reason. They're not lies. Read through them. And I have 5-star reviews on other companies that I've worked for, probably about 100. But they're all of them are telling the truth. They're in there saying like, hey man, Cat really heard me. He really saw who I was. We had a connection. That stuff matters to me, bro. That's what sets me apart. I'm not just another dude trying to take your bread. I actually really freaking care about my clients and my students. So Inkheads, that's the thing I want them to feel when they're leaving. Like, man, that dude cares about me, you know?
So much that he gave me a blended hairline, man. Look at that thing.
I tell
What's
I tell my clients all the time, I'm like working on them. I'm like, hey, I should have added this in your consent form, but like I'm not liable for any child support. Like if you get home and your wife is like, yo,
That's beautiful, dude. Let me tell you something, bro. I wish I could use some of the footage that because I do the same thing. I'll be like, hey, listen, brother, I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't want your wife calling me when you get home. Cause you're not even walking, you floating around because you're gonna be looking and feeling so amazing that they just start
yeah,
up. So to hear
exactly,
you say that, it's like, yeah.
exactly.
Can you what's your process like, man, when you're creating a natural hairline and like how do you tailor it to each client?
Yeah. One of my dude, I think one of the key components, man, is so many artists teach this, is the lifting of the eyebrows. Okay, I think that's such a key moment when you ask them for their 4 fingers, they put it on their eyebrow right here. You make that top mark to get the height. The moment where I say, okay, can you please lift your eyebrows so that I could see your frown lines? I had a client yesterday or 2 days ago. We added on him a little widow's peak because when he lifted his eyebrows, you could see the V.
Ah, V's in the dips in the middle.
I just gave you some gold right
That's a
here.
master. You know what, man? I wish I had a look at that, man. That was a game recognized game right there. That's a gem. Listen, guys. Can we run that back, Cap, for them? This is a gem right here with the hairline. Bring
Yeah,
it back with the whole when the middle indents. When you get that Moses splits the sea hairline.
yeah. And so I asked them, go ahead and lift your eyebrows. If you see that V, it's usually an indicator that they had the widow's peak. And so because of that, I'm not giving him just a straight hairline. I could if he wants to, but then I'm gonna ask him, hey, I noticed that you have this V shape in the top of your top frown line. Um, that tells me automatically that your hairline came more to a point. It may have not been the Eddie Munster like drop down into a V, but it could have been more diamond shaped, and it could point to the fact that you might have more rounded corners, right? And so I'll ask them to keep their eyebrows raised and then turn their head, and you can see like where the frown lines end usually is more rounded in the side, and that's where you you stop and you say, okay, I can't just slap a ruler on this guy's forehead and give him an edge up. I can't. It's not going to look natural for his face. So the word natural, bro, I take that up like 17 levels, because what does it mean to look natural? First of all, a straight line will look curved on a round thing, on a round object. Perfect example is a straight line on a basketball. If you hold it like this, it's going to look straight, but when you turn it down, it looks curved, right? So, so I can take the ruler and use it just as a like beginning point, but then from there I can start to create the curvature to match the frown lines. So for me, it's a dual thing of like looking at the frown lines when they lift their eyebrows, but then also listening to what they want. Some clients come in and they're like, oh no, bro, you're the artist. You tell me what looks good. And if that's the case, then I just create the most natural hairline that looks to me, to my eye, And then I'll still ask them, hey, what do you think about these corners? Is it too high? Is it too sharp? Is it too low? I'm always conservative, so I'll start higher and I can bring it down lower. But I'm trying to co-create with my client. I don't want them to feel like, the super arrogant tattoo artists who say, this is the way I'm doing it. You can't do it any other way. Bro, come on, man. They're dropping, 4 to 5 G's on this. And I'm just gonna tell you how you're gonna like it. Come on, man. So I like the phrase of co-creation. Because I want them to feel like, yeah, bro, I like how this hairline looks on me. It looks like me. I don't want them to say it looks like the dude, your last client. I want them to say it looks like and feels like me.
So feel me rain from behind. Black rain. Peace through in the game. Black rain. Through the struggles and the strain. Black rain. Elements of mine. So feel the rain from behind. Black rain. Peace through in the game. Black rain. Through the struggles and the strain. Black rain. Elements of mine. To feel the rain from behind. I'm sorta like a killer devil rebel. The getaway cars are the sounds of the bass and the treble. Cause I get into mine able and ready, so keep.
Yeah, sure. And then I feel like when you involve them in that process, it makes them appreciate the overall look.
Yeah,
even more, because this is kind of like, yeah, like this is me. This does fit, because they had some say in that. And I just kind of want to even offset. I don't even have this as one of your questions, but because we are throwing around natural, and as a trainer, and I know you understand this because you've broken it down, but the industry has some way somehow associated that term natural with it's the shape, the curvature of the hairline.
Oh, thank you for pointing this out. Oh my God.
And listen, man, you know who else talks with me about this? And we actually, you know what, man, I'm going to go ahead and put it out there. Like, we'll share photos of like when guys put in, they're like, check out this natural hairline. And it looks hard.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, a natural hairline has nothing to do with the curve. Like, a natural hairline doesn't mean, okay, there's going to be some slight recession, some widow's peaks. It's not a natural hairline. You just gave a hard hairline with widow's peaks.
Exactly.
Like, how do you, and I'm sure a client has come to you, like you said it, like they want a natural hairline.
Yeah.
As a trainer, how do you express that to the students so that they understand during the consultation? How to explain? Because that's a very, like, dude, it's a day and night.
Yeah.
The nation, like, no, that's not natural. Like,
Yeah.
how do you go about spitting that knowledge to them so that they grasp it and they know how to, when client comes in and is like, I want a natural hairline, it's like, whoa, what do you mean by that?
Yeah. I love that you pointed that out, that there's a difference between the shape. Like, you can take a hard hairline, right, that has sharp corners and is straight, and then you just basically curve the corners, but all your dots are super close together, and now you're calling it natural. No, I call that Mickey Mouse, bro. It looks like big round.
Oh, that's a new one, dog.
That's not what constitutes natural. What constitutes natural is the fade, you have to, when you think of it in terms of, let me explain it in barber language, even though I'm not a barber. But to create a fade, you need at least 3 levels, right?
Yes.
Meaning you have to have high density of hair here, medium density here, and then lower density here. If you only have 2 levels, super close dots, and then it ends, no matter what the shape is, it's going to look hard. So you know what makes me laugh all the time is when I see someone post a hard hairline that they've drawn, and then they have the dotted 1-inch gap above it. Like, bro, are you just doing
Crazy.
this? Can you see
Yeah.
other artists do this?
Like, what does that mean for you? Is that
What
a
does that mean?
line for what? To fade? Because with one line, that's not a fade.
It's not a fade. And so this is how I explain it to my students. And I go,
Cat, we're
super.
gonna start some shit with this one because
Oh,
that's
yeah.
that's the
Oh,
thing.
yeah. Hey,
That- I see those photos all the time.
all the
and you see
time.
it, it's like a hairline and then just one dotted line, and I'm always like, bro, like, what does that mean?
You don't need a dotted line on a hard hairline. The dotted line constitutes the area where the fade begins,
And
right?
then the last one is where it ends.
Where it
So
ends.
your
Right.
gradient, right? The in between,
Yeah.
that's your where you're creating that gradient. It's like,
Exactly. And so how I take about an hour to really go through the details and the way that I teach the natural hairline when I'm teaching the class, and I have, all the video and the iPad and this stuff. But like, essentially that 1 inch, that dotted line that you draw above your bottom hairline, in however wide that is, that says how long your fade is going to be. So if you make it like a 1/4 inch, you could create a softer, like hard hairline. Or if you make it an inch long, then it's going to start from like really close dots, full density, and then it's going to slowly fade that gradient, like you said. And so I use the terminology of 3 levels of density: high density, medium density, and low density. And that all happens within that 1 inch in the hairline. And that's where you get that soft fade that creates the more natural looking hairline versus the Mickey Mouse.
the Mickey Mouse, the natural, because of its curvature. It's like,
Because of its curvature.
what the fuck is going on? Like, who's
Exactly.
how do you ensure that your SMP results are consistent and of high quality? Because it seems like you don't slip up, brother.
I appreciate
Seems
you.
like you don't slip up. Every now and then, you might get one of those that look meh, and that's to us, right? Because we're our own biggest
Worst critic.
critics.
Yeah.
But I don't think you have those days, bro, because all your shit just looks professionally executed. And listen, I've done my share of natural hairlines, and I am telling you, there are some times that I go, shit, man, it ain't come out like the last one. That it still looks great.
Yeah.
I will say I could still run laps around some of these other cats, but like your shits are like consistent as hell, bro. Like, what is it? Just at this point, is it just muscle memory, bro, or do you have like, is it a game plan? Is it a mindset? Like, what is it?
I'm obsessed, bro. So I'm obsessed with my work and with my clients. Like, dude, I want my dots. So my style, I've realized that I have a style that is high density, tiny dots. That's my style, right?
Oh, bro, it's crazy zooming in on your stuff. Like, I'm telling you, it's crazy. I'm sorry, I'm stepping on you. I
No, it's all
apologize.
good. It's all good. I think a lot of artists have this mentality of like, let me just do these big, like in your face dots, spend 2 hours on this cat and get him out of my chair. Bro, I spend 2 hours on the hairline. Like for me, I think it comes down to, what is your goal in business? Yes, I want to grow my business, bro. But like, my structure of the way that I charge for my clients, I don't charge by the session on purpose. I give you one set price and it includes all of your freaking sessions. So all your necessary sessions. So I say to my client, when you're happy, that's when we're done. And so that gives me the freedom then to do, typically I'm done in 3 to 4 sessions, right? And of those 3 to 4 sessions, I'm spending 4 to 5 hours every single time, bro. And for a lot of SMP artists, they're like 4 to 5 hours. Like, I do, 2 hours and then I'm done. Like, yeah, but that's why your work looks like crap. Like, you're not taking the time to act as if this was your head. The secret is, I'm working on a hairline until I'm jealous of that hairline. When I get to the point where I'm like, damn, your hairline's so much better than mine, then I'm like, okay, I'm getting close. That's how I know I'm doing a good job. So it may look like on the outside that, most of the work that's coming out looks, of some level, but that's because I'm taking the freaking time, man. And I think people just don't want to do that because they're just about getting that bread. And I understand you got to feed your family, but bro, if your work's going to speak louder than you.
I think it's a combination of that and, oh, my microphone is acting crazy. What's happening here? Can you hear me clearly? How about now?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that. I think it's a combination of what we're starting to see on social media. And I think that artists think that because the artist that they like is moving all fast, right? And I call this shit doing it for the gram, right? So now you got some of these artists that have been in the game for 10, 15 years. So of course, yes, they can do this and still give you consistent impressions. Very few. You and I both know moving that fast, you're not going to always get the same consistency. You're going to be moving to the next impression before your needle even is out of the scalp. So you're creating like a line. And I think they think that this is what it is to be a good SMP artist. We got to keep up with that. And they don't realize that that fast pace doesn't constitute you as a good SMP artist. And they don't want to say, oh, it took me 4 hours, 5 hours to finish a client. I'm like, what? Yo, I do 2 clients by then. So it's like now they think, oh, that's the new standard. I should be pumping out 2 clients about 4 hours, not realizing, well, bro, when you're doing the kind of work that you're doing, and then again, what are you using? You got to be using like a 0.06, maybe even a 0.04 needle as well too, right? So your impressions now are super duper tight. So now your real estate is very minimal. So you got to really work to build that density.
100%. And for me, I think, when I'm teaching people how to do SMP, I always tell them, speed is the absolute last skill you're going to pick up. I don't give a crap. Look, for me, I don't care if you take 2 hours, but your work turns out great, man, God bless you.
That's a win.
But if you take 2 hours and you got dots the size of freaking, Dalmatian dog dots like that I could see from across the parking lot, then bro, you need to slow down and freaking get your craft under control, right? So to me, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how long it's the length of time doesn't matter. The result is what matters. And me, I've never claimed to be the fastest dude. I'm not the fastest guy. Just like you say, you can look around on Instagram and you see guys like, my question is, how does the finished work look?
Yeah. Show me all those inconsistencies, dark spots, light spots.
If you can do that, would it matter if you had the speed of Bruce Lee, but you only struck the dude like 1% of the time? Like, no, man. If you had if you had Bruce Lee's speed and you hit 100% of the time, then dude, please teach a class and let me come learn from you.
Yeah, I'll sign up.
Well, I'll sign up right now. But what I'm saying is like I would much rather have a slow student with clean dots than a fast student with sloppy, big, ugly dots. So I just take my time, bro. I take my time, and that's why I'm not releasing, my client until I'm happy with the work. And I know they're going to be happy, but I want to be proud. Like when they're walking around, because that's a billboard. That's an Inkhead's billboard walking around. And when somebody inevitably asks them, what the hell? You got SMP? I thought that was hair. Oh, yeah, bro. You need to see
ultimate compliment right there.
Yep. So that's the thing. It's just, I think people, they get enamored. You're right. They get enamored with the, like, I'm a superstar going hella fast. Like, look at my Lamborghini. Bro, are your dots clean or not?
Right.
Is your work good or not, man? That's what it comes down to.
Like, I finished this guy. I did a Norwood 7 in an hour and a half. Yeah, congratulations. It looks like shit, though.
Exactly, bro.
Years. He's coming in for 4 sessions of you scrambling around. I
Yeah.
heard one guy, he was on live, and his advice was, yes, when you're working fast, there's going to be some inconsistencies, but this is why we do SMP in different sessions. And I was like, yo, this fucking dude is putting out classes. And this is what he just said, that this is why we do SMP in sessions, is because it's designed to be inconsistent. So when you add several layers of inconsistencies, the final result is one consistent layer. Yo, Cat, this was on Instagram Live, bro. And I was just like, what did I just what did I just hear?
Let me translate that for you. I did not take the time to work enough melons and or models to get consistent dots, and I rushed into becoming a trainer. Therefore, I have to sell you this bullcrap.
Yeah.
That's what that is,
Mm.
bro. The inconsistency is created by small dot, big dot differentiation, meaning like when you redot a dot from your previous session, you make it slightly larger. And I do that on purpose, especially in the hairline. Dropping a little bit of my secrets here, but I do that a little bit, especially on the hairline. Not every single dot. I skip some and leave some because I want stars and I want background actors, but I understand that hair follicles are not all the same size. Some hair follicles have one hair, some hair follicles have four hairs coming out of them. You could see them if you use, magnifying glasses like I use when I'm working. Therefore, the inconsistency comes out of the size of the dot, not like when you place a dot and when you place your needle in the skin and then you pull it when you're coming out because you're trying to move too fast, and then you have a little, like, what looks like a little a line almost. So you have a dot and then you have a line. That's because you're moving too damn fast and you care too much about getting that dude out of your, chair and getting paid, and or just trying to look good for the gram. And now you have to explain why your dots look like crap. When if you just slowed down, you could have clean dots and then revisit some of those dots to create the real inconsistency. You know what I mean? That's how you create that, not the other way that he just said.
Now, if you guys have Zelle, feel free to send that over to Cat for that master's class, because you be probably not gonna learn that shit in your SMP class anyway. Actually, you know what? There's a handful of people that know about the whole redotting.
Yeah, yeah,
There's a couple of cats, but
yeah. Tony's great at that.
for the most part, there's dudes that are like, no, you absolutely cannot do that. That's how you cause a blowout. It's like, what?
If you have no control. And that when I redot, my big dots are smaller than 90% of guys' small
His
dots.
standard dots.
Yeah. So, and the other reason is that most people don't want to do small dots because they know it's a lot of work,
Yeah,
A,
the real estate is crazy.
and B, you're going to have to revisit. I do these dots knowing that a gang of them, a good 30% of them are going to fade into oblivion, but I also understand that they're not going to 100% fade. They're going to create a gradient that's going to actually give that background layer to my actual dots that hold. That's going to make it
Right.
look more like the skin tone that's on the side of your hair where it's full density.
Yeah, I like that too. I appreciate that way. It creates that. It gives you that little extra contrast to really
Yeah.
make it pop. Before we wrap it up, Kat, I got a two-parter for you. You ready?
Yeah.
I would like for you to give advice to someone who is thinking about starting a career in SMP, and someone who's already been a SMP artist who's got about 30, 40 clients under his belt. A piece of advice for the two.
Okay. For the person who is thinking about coming into the industry, I think that the most important piece of research you need to do is to do your due diligence about who you're receiving training from. I don't think I'm the only good trainer out there by any means. I know you're a great trainer. I know there's many other trainers that I could name. but I would say there's probably a small pool of them, right? Compared to a lot of dudes who are out here that, you know, took a class and then 6 months later they're training. I'm like, what are you teaching people, bro? Like, you actually have to have a thing called experience in order to teach. And so for the person that is thinking about joining the SMP industry, I would say do your due diligence and look at different trainers. Look at ones that you may not even like. Look at ones that you really like, and look at their portfolios. Make sure there is a plethora of different hairlines that they have on their IG or in their portfolio, because you're only gonna get what they can give away. And so if they only have, you know, barber's edge ups on their Instagram, that's a red flag, bro. You probably should go look at somebody else, you know, that can teach or do different types of hairlines. And so I think it's really important that they do that. The other thing that they need to keep in mind is that it's not an overnight success story for anybody, right? We, as trainers, and you know this, as trainers of SMP, we're doing these 3-day classes. Nobody can master anything in 3 days.
Amen.
What I tell my students is, I am literally giving you the tools to build your house. You got to do it, because that's how I did it. I was given the tools to go home and practice. So I went home, and 1,000 melons later and 1,000 models later, I'm finally starting to charge for my clients. And, you know, and so keep it in your mind that it's more probably like a 2 to 3 month, maybe 6 month situation where you're going to transition into actually opening your business. So that way you don't have in your mind that you're just going to hit the, you know, SMP lottery and start charging 5Gs tomorrow, because that ain't going to happen. People need to see your work first.
For sure.
For the person who, for the artist who's like 30, 40 procedures in, I think this kind of goes back. My answer is tied in with what you were saying about me earlier, where, like, you know, which I really appreciate. You were saying, like, you know, my name isn't really out there. What I'm learning right now, I feel like I've got the goods when it comes to training and when it comes to the procedure. What I'm learning right now in running my own business is the art of marketing. And I think that for the person who is 30, 40 procedures in, you're now at a place where you need to think seriously about how and if you're running ads, you know, what is it that you can do to really start to like create a brand and to create a place where in the industry you're starting to be known. Do you have a Google presence yet? Like, do you even have a Google My Business set up? Do you have a Yelp? Or do you have all these things to where your business now is starting to grow? And that's literally, it's only within the last year that I've gone on my own, and I've opened my own shop here in Santa Monica, California. And these are the things that I'm learning now. I'm constantly growing in my business, and I'm learning now that, like, man, I'm not amazing at marketing. And so I'm having to learn that, you know? And so that's what I would encourage the person who's 30, 40 procedures in, because at that point you're already charging, you know, but like, how do you get your business up to the next level? It's also like just exactly like what you're doing through this podcast, which, by the way, looks super professional. Like your mic, everything, like your whole setup.
Thank you, bro.
It's really clean. It's super professional, and it feels to me like it feels like quality. That's what it feels like.
You feel like you on the Joe Rogan show or SMP?
Exactly. That was my next thing I was gonna say. Exactly. I was gonna call you Joe there for a second.
Not Joe. Call me Jose. Well, I'll stick to Jose. Give me
Jose. But like, that's what I would say is you're at a point now, if you're 30, 40 deep, to start to really think about marketing and branding, because this is where you could hit a plateau in your business, and you really need to start to, like, get your name to a place where it's trusted. People, people go to Nike to buy shoes not because it's advertised, but because they know that Nike is synonymous with a good shoe, right? But if it's a brand new shoe company, I have to then go to their website, look at the type of shoes that they have, like, all that. So you're studying all this. But branding, I'm realizing now, is what is going to speak. It's going to have a pre-conversation about you before they even come to you. And so I would encourage them, branding and marketing, start to do your homework there. And I'm only saying that not as someone who's mastered it, as someone who's actually going through it right now. And I'm like 4 or 5 years deep in this game, and it's what I'm learning right now. So
that's great advice. I appreciate that, and I appreciate your transparency in saying that this is something that you're figuring out now. Because it happens, man. We forget about that. We realize, we got it. I'm so dope at this, and then you realize, like, I could be the best dude in this damn country, but if no one knows about me, I'm just the best dude in the country who not making any money.
You're the best unknown dude.
So I appreciate your transparency with what you have to say. That's what I feel like right now.
I feel like that, bro. I feel like that.
Listen, brother,
I'm one of the best out there, and I feel like I'm one of the best out there, and I feel like nobody knows me. And I'm like, man, but I have to keep doing what feels right to me in terms of, staying true to my brand, but also making my brand known, so
sometimes we got to tap into the stuff that we say we shouldn't do and don't want to do, because that's just the way business is. But there is always ethical practices in doing it. You know what I mean? Without, when you get the red pill or the blue pill, there's a way to take them both and not suffer the consequences.
Right.
That's a way of figuring it out. But before we wrap it up, Kat, let everyone know where they can find you on social media, websites, or if they want to get some training and get some information and get training from you.
Yeah. So best place to find me is at inkheads.com. That's INKHDZ.com, or my Instagram, which is the same, just inkheads on Instagram, and shoot me a DM, or, you can find all the information on you can contact me on my website, and I'm super personable. I'll respond to you, so whatever your needs are, if it's training or if it's that procedure, that's where you can find me.
Outstanding. Kat, I appreciate you, brother, for taking out time, jumping on the podcast. You are a class act, brother. I love your style. I love what you're doing with SMP, brother. And I hope we could tap in sometime in the future again.
Appreciate you, man. Likewise.
Guys, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Scalp Solutions Podcast with my man, Kat. Until the next time, peace.
Hey.